Oh,
About the future, I guess I'll give you the future. Ooh,
yeah,
future.
none of that talking about the past stuff, I mean, good enough lithium, that's so 1970s. I want to talk about the future, like next year. No, yeah, so it turns out that something we've been saying for years and years and years is hopefully starting to catch some traction. The National Association of City Transportation Officials, NACTO, would you call that NACTO? I don't know. It makes me
use that acronym.
Yeah, I know. I'm NACTO intolerant. So we'll just say NACTO. They have a membership of 25 big U.S. cities and 41 affiliate cities. And what they do is they study traffic patterns and transportation patterns, and they look at the past. They try to look at the future. They try to see where trends are going, and they try to work with cities to mitigate impending traffic jams and to help people move from place to place a little easier. So this brings us to what we've been saying for years and years, and Russell keeps saying the future of transportation is not cars, not even autonomous ones, because the argument has been made several times that if we have these autonomous vehicles that can drop you off at work and then go roam around waiting for people needing a ride, you've now introduced deadhead cars sitting around and making traffic more congested. We've said that Uber and Lyft don't remove cars from the road. Instead, it gives solo drivers reasons to drive around to pick people up. It's actually increased traffic. And NACTO, I'm going there. They studied these. I know. That's why I'm doing it. They studied these trends, and they studied the cities, and they came out with a second edition of what they're calling Blueprint for Autonomous Urbanism. And they do know that there will be some level of autonomous vehicles, but they want to make sure that that people don't see autonomous vehicles as the end all be all. And instead, they've made some very strong suggestions to incorporate more mass transportation through cities and buses. Through buses and rail. And one of the things they've said is cutting back the amount of land given to cars in urban areas, carving that out and making it much easier for people to walk and bike and do things other than drive. One of the suggestions down here in the cities is to let's see, they're not just calling for sidewalks, bike lanes, bus lanes, and meadows throughout the urban environment. They're also looking at speed restriction. And one way to reduce speed is not through signs, because people ignore signs. We already know that. But they're talking about cutting lanes down to 10 feet wide instead of the typical 13 feet or even 15 feet in some places. The idea there is the lanes will be narrower and people will have to be more alert, more cautious, and they'll drive slower.
Open a body shop in that town.
Yes, yeah. See, Paul, you'll have all kinds of business.
Or there'll be a lot less pedestrians in that town.
Right. So
people aren't going to slow down.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of ideas. But again, what we've been talking about is this trend of, whether we like it or not, Americans love their cars. Americans love driving their cars. Most of the time, one person is driving a vehicle that seats 4 or 5
and eating pizza
7 or 9. Yes, yeah, and doing their hair and texting all at the same time. And if you guys haven't seen this picture that shows how much real estate it takes to move like 100 people in cars versus 100 people in a bus. I mean, it's dramatic, because in a car you have a person, and then they're surrounded by like 10 feet of empty space, and you do that for 100, maybe 4 wide, 25 deep, and then you put them in a bus and you have 100 people and they're all sitting right there. Yeah, so if you can, get a hold of the NATCO, the Blueprint for Autonomous Urbanism, second edition, and you can read what they're thinking about moving people in the future. Did you guys read this or skim it or anything?
No, I haven't read this one, but it reminds me of efforts that they've done where they remove lanes. They either make the bike lane super wide, or they raise it up and they put trees on it and shrink the main traffic lane, which slows people down, and because they don't want to wreck their stuff. And then there's the idea of the super block, where they take all of the traffic out of a whole city block and they just make it huge, like it's all pedestrians, and like the only trucks in are like delivery trucks, and then it's amazing. The stuff works. And
what they did in my town was they put in a mass transit system. Electric trains now run up the center of the city, and they took a 4-lane road. They reduced it to 2 lanes for traffic and 2 lanes for trains and a bike lane. So now people that were used to that 4 lanes of traffic, they just avoid that street altogether and take alternates. So that main thoroughfare in the middle of the city is now a lot less traveled, and of course the trains run unimpeded anyways. So that's a way to reduce traffic as well. But that's what they tried to do, is discourage people from using a certain lane of traffic and allow pedestrians and the train to run unimpeded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know we've looked at other countries, and it's like, what do they do? And I know in other countries there will be a train that goes into the middle of a large town, a large city, and there will be bike racks. And I'm not talking like the 12 or 20 that you see in the United States. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of bikes. People get off the train, they go off, they find their bike, and they ride their bike, what's called the Golden Mile, the rest of the way to work. And then when it's time to catch the train, they ride their bike back, and then they lock it up at the train station. They hop on the train, and they've got another bike back home that they ride from the train station back home.
I think
that's it.
Most bikes I've ever seen in one place was at the Amsterdam train station. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of bicycles. And they're all shitty bikes. Like, people leave a bike at the train station that no one wants to steal. They ride the train in from the suburbs, and they ride their shitty bike the last mile to their office. And it's great. Works wonderfully.
Yeah. I wish I could find a picture of the one train station in Switzerland that I would go in and out of quite frequently. And they have all these beautiful pictures, but no pictures of the shitty bikes.
I want to see your shitty bike.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and it's in Zug, Switzerland, and people come in from all over the place, and they get off of the train, they walk downstairs, the bikes are underground, they hop on their bike and they ride to work, and everybody does this. There's no social hierarchy or stigma or anything. Everyone from directors down to lay people and everyone, people are riding their bikes to work. No one is I won't say no one is too good to ride their bike, but like 90% of the people will ride their bike.
I mean, they even have several models of bikes. They got like a cargo bike. They got the kids' bike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
And the country is pretty much flat, so it's even better.
Yeah, I mean, there are always arguments why it won't work in America.
Because we don't want it to.
A lot of it is
exactly.
That's the biggest hurdle, is the cultural hurdle, the historical hurdle that we have.
In the meantime, here, let me show you sort of this. So I found it.
Cheap Dutch bikes, because really nobody wants to see that.
So I mean, here. So check this out. This is under the train, in the train station.
Cool. Yeah.
You just have hundreds, and this is just one row. I mean, there will be.
Oh yeah.
Do they even lock them?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They lock the front wheel. And you just go and you know where you remember where you put your bike, and you just grab your bike and that's it. Your bike is covered overnight or whatever, however long you leave it there. And yeah, that's it.